Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show. Today we are going to be painting
The Wizkids
the Wizkids Warforged Titan.
Warforged Titan. That is correct. This is actually a really cool miniature. The only thing I don't like is the hammer aspect. Not that I have anything against hammers. It just seems a little. I would have given it maybe a hammer end on one end of the weapon and then something else. So like some axes have a hammer end or something like that. Because if it really needs to smash, it could probably just kick whatever it needs to smash or stomp it.
Well, I think that's gay.
But otherwise, the little kid did a great job on base coating it. Up until just a few moments ago, he was, as per usual, behind schedule. We've had a busy week. And he's going to
Yes.
be focusing just on washes using Armypainter Washes because those are the best. Everything else is just watered down paint, in my opinion, or watered down ink, or not even watered down. What are you going to start with?
Soft tone.
Soft tone. Okay. He's probably going to use up all of my soft tone because, as you guys know, that is the most useful of all the washes that have ever been made. But don't buy it in the big paint cans because that's actually a different composition. The chemical makeup of that product is vastly different from what I hear.
Inferior?
Well, it's more like a lacquer or a varnish, and it's just it was meant in the old days for you to dip the whole miniature in the wash, shake it off, and you're done. But that's just wasteful and messy.
Well, if you have the miniature above the bucket whilst he dries.
Well, no, because you just use too much. It goes on thicker. It's you have less control, and it's just I don't recommend it. Grab half a dozen bottles of soft tone.
Boring!
From Miniature Market.
How can you not recommend something if you've never used it?
Because I've watched other people and I value their opinions. And I know how I am.
Couldn't you just recommend what they say?
Well, I am, but I'm not
No,
giving them credit because I don't remember everybody I've talked to.
So
Except DM Fritz, and he's definitely a YouTuber you guys got to catch.
Yeah.
The DM's Alcove. He's a great guy, really mellow, really fun to listen to and chat with, and I'm looking forward to talking to him this week because I didn't get much chance last week. But he's going to be using the soft tone on the brighter colors.
You mean copper?
Well, what about this color? This gold color. You're just going to leave it blank, or well, you know what? You could use the green on it.
That seems better to me.
Okay.
Because
it is kind of a greenish.
It's more green than it is yellow or orange or whatever.
Brown, yeah. And then he'll be using a lot of the dark tone. And speaking of
you're right. I'm using all this.
I'm going to be making a Miniature Market order because I am running out of paint. Mostly washes, to be honest. I've been picking up bottles here and there from my local Hobby Lobby every weekend, a 2-bottle. I usually grab 2 bottles, and whether I need those colors or not, until I've got everything the store has to offer. But while he's dabbing paint all over the place, I wanted
That's what I do.
That is what he does. If you notice over to the left of him, there's a huge pile of miniatures over there that's what I've gotten done in the last couple of weeks. All of those are from Tenkar's Tavern. Thanks, bud. We really appreciate it, and it really lit a fire under my butt. Even though I've got hundreds of other miniatures I need to paint, those are miniatures like bugbears and ogres, another troll. I think 2 trolls, a couple of minotaurs, and some wolves that I just didn't have any of those kinds of miniatures for my games, and I've always had a soft spot for bugbears, especially the image.
I don't understand them.
Right, they're neither bug nor bear. Especially
At least make them one.
Especially the old image from the Monster Manual. They just look like really mean teddy bears, and I've always had a soft spot for them. So it was really nice to get a good half a dozen bugbears for the upcoming.
I definitely do like them.
D&D game that I will be running online as soon as a good friend of mine can give me lessons on how to use SteamYards. Speaking of good friends and SteamYards, the Pathfinder game that I got to play this weekend with Bruce and and Connell and all the gang. Was a lot of fun. It was a nail biter. I know I almost bit the dust at least once.
And he was twitching for the rest of the day afterwards.
Yeah, I had such an adrenaline.
I'm not exaggerating, by the way. I was talking to him at night, and I could see his head. Not only was his leg shaking, but doing that.
Yeah, I had an incredible.
Faster.
I had an incredible.
And a lot. It wasn't as drastic, but it was so much faster.
I had an incredible adrenaline buzz going on.
I think that's something a bit different than adrenaline.
Maybe I was having a seizure or something, but I had so much fun that I just couldn't get to sleep until like 2 a.m. and I was up chatting with DM James.
Wonder when you're going to have one of those really good ideas of yours.
So thanks Bruce, thanks Connell, thanks everybody else in the game. You guys were it was just such a fun game. And special thanks to our new friend Kat, who joined the game and really, even though Kat had to leave in the middle of the game, your character, your magic abilities really made a huge difference. The extra attacks, the protection, the extra movement, all the spells you cast on the party. I don't think we would have made it without those extra numbers and bonuses, so thanks. And if you guys didn't catch us earlier over on the Cigar DMs channel,
definitely watch that.
We
and support him.
Yes, absolutely. He's a great guy, and he's just starting out doing the YouTube thing, and we know exactly what that feels like.
Yep.
So make sure you go over and give him a thumbs up for us and a sub and all that. Push the buttons. And we had a lot of fun, thanks to him and all the other guys who recommended that we start reading the Dresden Files. They're a lot of fun. It's actually a type of fiction that I'm really fond of, that being the modern fiction with some sort of science fiction or fantasy element.
I'm a bigger fan of sci-fi as well as, or sci-fi fantasy. That makes sense.
Yeah, like Star Wars and things like that.
Star Wars is a bad example, but it's the only example that exists that anybody knows about.
Well, there's other examples, but it's the most.
That's what I mean. Anybody knows about.
It's the big 800-pound.
Odds are everybody knows about Star Wars, but odds are most people don't know about any of the other stuff that fall into that.
Right.
Because Star Wars barely falls into it.
But we had a nice long chat about the Dresden Files. If you haven't read them, give them a read so you can follow along with us. We're only in book 2.
The only problem is that the best narrator was removed from YouTube. Well, he wasn't removed, but someone who recorded him.
It's hard to find. It's hard to find.
And now all that exists is an Asian guy who does really good, but you can't hear him, and a woman who does okay, but really slow.
Yeah, it took us. We had to. What speed did we bump?
Well, no. Here's the thing. I originally bumped it up to 1.5 times speed because it was just really slow. Then, once it was getting really late and I wanted to
catch up,
maybe finish before the video, I increased it to 2 times speed. Which maybe it's just me, maybe I'm weird, but it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that hard to understand.
No, it wasn't.
Probably because she just speaks so slow.
Yeah, I was gonna say because she speaks very slow, and she's new to doing what she's doing, even though she's got.
She was new at the time.
Right, but even bumping it.
I mean, she's still doing it now, so.
Even bumping it up to 2 times speed, it wasn't difficult.
I mean, it was still fast. It wasn't slow.
Right, but it wasn't like chipmunk fast.
Yeah.
So, go over to Cigar DM and watch the videos, read the books, do the things, and another thing I want to let you guys in on is that on the 14th of this month, Archon Studios is releasing another Kickstarter, and we've backed every Rampart and Dungeons and Lasers Kickstarters, and these are terrain and miniature Kickstarters. They're not games or anything like that, even though the Woodhaven does have a 5e supplement wedged in there as a bonus.
But you know how we feel about that.
The miniatures and the terrain.
Not the actual supplement itself, but.
Right, because we haven't read it. The terrain and their miniatures are top quality. Their Kickstarter turnaround is almost always less than a year. They plot out for a year for their Kickstarter, but they already started shipping in May, and they aren't really due until August. So that's a huge bonus, and we've backed all of their Kickstarters before. I'll be backing the new Dungeons and Lasers Encounters Kickstarter, which is a little bit different than the previous ones.
I was not made aware of this.
In the fact that instead of floor tiles, there will be rollout mats.
Oh, you have told me about this.
There's 3 different mats. There's a swamp, an elven forest, and a land of the giants kind of ruins, just rubble and what have you, which makes setup time a lot faster, but for some people, they like to build out the whole thing, and I don't know if it's a dry erase type mat, but they're printed mats, and to go with the printed mats are 3 separate types of scenery, boardwalks and boats and things like that, and trees and bushes for the swamps, trees and shrubbery and hills and rocks for the elven forest, and giant broken statues and pieces of giant sculptured rubble for the Giants Kickstarter package. And each of the 3 Kickstarters has, I think, about 30 or so actual miniatures, along with some, obviously a ton of stretch goals. Their stretch goals are honestly world famous amounts and quality of stretch goals. I think the last
They should be world famous.
The last Kickstarter, I think, had close to 200 individual pieces of terrain, like, what were they? Baskets and barrels, and the little scattered terrain that you want to really dress up, your tables and your dungeons. The last Kickstarter was a town called Woodhaven. The Kickstarter before that was the town Kickstarter.
That was Woodhaven.
Oh yeah, you're right. And what was the second Kickstarter? I know the first one
was
just more.
The second Kickstarter was just more of what the first one was.
The first one was dungeons and sci-fi scenery, and
the second one was more dungeons and sci-fi scenery, as well as dragons.
Yeah,
that was the big thing.
And all those dragons are right back here.
Because the first Kickstarter had this big thing with a dragon, and the
little guy painted every one of those. I helped out a little bit here and there.
Okay, he helped a bit more than a little bit.
Well, you were just getting started, but
not an excuse.
You can go back and watch our Dragon of the Month video. That's where it started. That's where the Dragon of the Month, like tonight, that's where that all got started. Was with.
Well,
Archon.
It actually started. Well, yes, it did start with Archon Dragons, and we only stopped when we ran out because we were always doing them.
Yeah, and this month, if we get lucky and we get our pledge from Dungeons and Lasers,
then we will be going back onto doing Archon Dragons, and you'll finally get a video where we paint an Archon Dragon that isn't awful.
Oh no, those turned out good.
I'm not saying the paint job was.
Oh,
bad.
You mean your squeaker hood?
Yes.
Yes, because he was a really young kid when we started that, and his voice has changed. He's grown a foot, and a foot of hair, if not 2. And we both have. But the new Kickstarter, or the one that we're getting in the mail, is going to have a ghost dragon and a phoenix that both, I think, are made out of clear plastic, which is going to be a lot of fun. It also makes it really easy to paint because you just hit them up with a wash here and there, a little dry brushing, and boom, you're ready to go. But have your hot knife ready, because that is a must when cutting apart the clear plastic. If you try to use anything else,
it will break.
It will shatter in a million pieces, and so we're expecting that. And we're also expecting the Rampart 3 Kickstarter, which is a more modern terrain, post-apocalyptic or war zone sort of, scenery, walls and buildings and ramps and bridges, and some really cool miniatures that unfortunately are really much larger than the scale we use. They're like 32 millimeter, but we're going to wait to pass judgment on that when they actually get here. But it also has some really cool walkers, the Mammoth Walker, which we absolutely can't wait to get, even though we never put together any of the Wolverine tanks, of which we got 5. We got 5 of those things still in the box. You just throwing stuff now?
I didn't throw it.
What are you looking for?
Red tongue.
Oh, okay.
It's not throwing. You see, throwing is when you grab an object and outstretch your arm and let go of it in the process, so that the momentum achieved by stretching out your arm is preserved by the object within your hand. So it keeps going as it has preserved all that momentum and it keeps on going. On the other hand, hitting an object, causing it to move and fall down, is not throwing. That's called knocking it over.
Are you done, Kai?
Yes.
So, hopefully, our friends at the Gatekeepers, Table Breakers, and Legion of Myth just caught that little mini rant. Also, wanted to tell you about this summer. If everything goes well and our friend Connell can teach this old guy a new trick, that being how to use Streamlabs or StreamYard, whatever it's called. And I will be hosting some online games. I have 3 different games planned. I'm not sure that I'll get to all 3, but I have 3 separate ideas. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them so you guys that are interested, because I know my good friend Armstrong from Mad Eye Miniatures wants to be in one. Our friend Cal, as well as Travis, have all mentioned wanting to be in one of our games. Probably the AD&D game that the little guy started, his gaming career in, and he needs some help in the quest.
It's not that I need some help, it's that I need to actually do it properly.
Well, yeah, it was a one-on-one.
Also, it's been a while.
It was a one-on-one game, and we could use some fresh blood to help him out and finish the quest, because I'm tired of going easy on him.
Yeah.
And the other game I want to run is a Traveler Mongoose style. I honestly feel a little more comfortable playing old school original Traveler, but thanks to Shauner's influence, I'm feeling anxious to run a Mongoose version of Traveler. And that game in particular, I want to try and stretch my role playing muscles and my narration skills and make it more of a real role playing experience for those of you who are interested. And then really just do things that I haven't done in a while. Most of my friends are more akin to Pathfinder players with a little bit more role playing elements in it, where often there is we've played months on end with very little combat and die rolling, except on my part to see if they succeed in their crazy schemes. But I really want to try something different when it comes to real role playing as opposed to combat die rolling games. And but like I said, I'm still working on the ideas, because I tend to run sandbox games as opposed to railroads, and I don't want to just okay, this is the mission and this is what you guys are going to do, and then I don't really like that. I like the players to be able to decide on their own what they want to do, and then I react. You need the mistake brush?
No, it's the red is all craft paint.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just when I was painting, I ripped off some of the paint.
Oh, okay. Maybe it needed to dry a little more.
It definitely did.
That's okay. It's battle damage. Dino damage.
Speaking of which, let me just...
It's really starting to look good. I mean, it looked good before, but washes, folks, you've heard me go on about gush on washes. They're... If you don't have a good set of washes, you're really just missing out on all the fun of miniature painting. They turn, here there's a perfect example. Just turn it back around just a second. No, go back the other way. See this right here? See that hose-like section right there? You see how each little line in between the hose really shows up? You can actually see it a lot better. You can really get in there and you can actually see the little lines with the shadows that the wash makes. You can't do that any other way other than, painstakingly paint the item black and then slowly dry brush very carefully until you leave those little lines. And this, there's a reason they call it talent in a bottle or liquid talent, because it brings everything to life. Now show them
also, people who've been here for a while may have remembered this thing, which I made a long time ago.
It's missing an arm because it broke off this afternoon.
Yeah, and also it's covered in dust. But it is something.
There's a scratch-built giant monster robot that he built probably over a year ago.
It was not a year ago.
Oh, okay. But it's made out of just, scraps and bits and pieces from our, various bits, boxes, and
It was the
cardboard
similar
and
time I
bottle
made
caps.
that robot up there. It was a similar time.
Right. Just all kinds of things. It just goes to show what you can make out of just, junk, things you find on the ground, things you save from model
part
kits.
Of it, I don't remember which part of it, but I know a part of it, was part of a phone case.
Yeah,
which was weird.
Just save your junk in a box until it gets, out of control.
It's mainly because the main reason I kind of regret it is. What? The main reason I kind of regret it is. It's just because it's rubber, so it's not the best thing. But my point is that I'm basing the colors I'm using on this off of the colors I used on this. It's a bit different. The composition of the colors, the ratios are a bit different. Obviously, this one does not have any sort of washes on it at all.
You can always revisit that later when we get the next shipment of washes, if you want.
Perhaps.
I can see some places where a wash would really come in handy, especially on the copper base platform sections.
Yeah, it's because it was all black, so I just thought, I'll just dry brush it. But back then, I was, is that, yep. And to be safe, I'll just put all of them in here.
Doge.
Why is this, anyways, but.
Back to what you were doing?
Yes, back to painting. You think I should use green tone on it?
If you would like, get away from my bottle. What are you, nuts? Listen, Lucy, you were not invited into the show.
But I think he's forgotten his contract.
Yeah,
you don't.
He's been on a Writers Guild strike, so we don't get any more episodes of Heroes for a while. And the other game that I'm toying around with running, you guys have probably heard it before, is sit down. Good boy. We're going to wrap it up here in just a moment, folks, but I just wanted to tell you about the other game that I'm toying with running is believe it or not, a Venture Brothers mixed with the Supernatural TV show, sort of spoofy, comical, jokey, goof off role-playing game that I've been toying with. I'm developing characters and situations. Venture Brothers is one of my all-time favorite shows, and I just recently found out that it was canceled, and they're gonna make a follow-up movie on HBO Max or something. Yeah, kind of like what they did with Serenity / Firefly, which also broke my heart when that happened, because it was one of the best TV shows to ever come around. And the Venture Brothers was the best. I'm not going to call it an anime because it was a cartoon, but it was.
Don't use that word in this household, okay? I don't like it.
It really started out, kind of Scooby-Doo graphics, with some improvements.
Scooby-Doo graphics.
Yeah, the animation style was pretty, pretty old school. Maybe that's what they were shooting for in season 1, or that's just what their budget allowed. But as they got, to season 4, 5, 6, and eventually 7, the animation style just got phenomenally better. Not movie quality better, but just a lot better. And it had some problems. It took sometimes 2 years per season to come out with 8 to 16. I think it was 16 episodes per year, but it was just one of the most well written cartoons I've ever seen. And the little guy just started watching it with me. We just finished up episode 1, and he the whole time he's shaking his head, "What am I watching?" kind of thing. But we had a lot of fun. It's just near and dear to my heart. And seeing as how it's over, I decided I wanted to try to run a game that's got that sort of spirit and feel to it, but with the one caveat that instead of it being based mostly around super science and science fiction-y stuff, I wanted to also, pay a little tribute to the Dresden novels because they also brought me back to a special place with the Amber Chronicles and a few other sets of books that I'm really fond of.
That you will never mention on this channel.
Yeah. So I wanted to do a, kind of supernatural TV show, but animated style, Venture Brothers humor, kind of crazy, using all the tropes and all the cliches that I can come up with and think of to create a game like that. But if you guys want to jump in on that game, you better be able to do your voices for your character, and no holds barred humor and irreverence. That's looking really, really sharp.
Thank you.
The washes are really just bringing all those metallics to realisticness.
Yeah, I just realized something. Many of you probably know, I like flags. And I often design them. And I realized I haven't done that for the group that I use this paint
So you need to make a flag for them.
Yes, I do.
If we do it right, I can show you how to mount one to the back of him like he's, like a standard bearer or something if you want.
I've done that before.
Have it hanging off the back, kind
Yeah.
of Japanese style, where it's either sticking straight up and flat or where it's actually just a banner trailing behind him, if you want. So you about ready to call it a night?
I am.
Okay. Don't want to use up any of that last little bit of soft tone. The red look,
I don't.
No, it's dried. It's dried. Don't even worry about it. That's the one thing with washes. They dry fast, but you can't really use a wet palette with them because that will overhydrate them, in my opinion. So you got to really, work. He does the exact opposite of what I do. I'll put just a couple of drops at a time, use them up fast, and keep going to the bottle as opposed to dump it out like that because that's enough wash for 2 or 3 miniatures.
No, it isn't.
Well,
not anymore.
Technically, he's right. So there you have it, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We've got a really busy week with a lot of cool stuff to show you guys this week. Hopefully, you'll keep your channel, stuck on our channel, I guess. And
There's better places to be, but
no, there's not. I can't think of any place I'd rather be than right here, right now, with my favorite person in the world sitting next to me, giving me nothing but a load of grief. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. We love you guys. Thank you guys for everything that you've been doing for us. We appreciate every one of you. And make sure you hit us up in the comment section because that's where we really, get to share our thoughts and opinions, and we really feel more connected to you guys. So from all of us here at the Shadow and Sun Show, have a great night. We will see you guys real soon, and
good night.
bye, everybody.